Hey, what's going on, Victorious Army? How y'all doing today? Hope y'all are doing well. Today I have a pretty special vlog here. Wanted to dedicate this to, you know, those without fathers, or those who had some pretty terrible fathers who decided to, you know, ruin you, ruin your mind, ruin your life, make it harder for you to thrive and survive. I wanted to talk about this because I've also had me a pretty terrible father as well. And I was able to figure out some different means and ways to, break that mental curse and break that negative energy over myself, right? So I'm gonna start with a story, a bit of a story. I'm talking about my my experiences with my shitty father. Okay, so I'm just gonna start it off with saying, honestly, right after doing a lot of thinking over this, my father was a angry, confused, scared, hateful man, right? For the most part, right? So I guess I'm starting this off by saying, my father didn't have any parents, right? And he was raised by his aunt and uncle, who were some pretty shitty pieces of work too, for him to be the way he was towards me, And I'm guessing because of what they did to him, right, he ended up doing the things he did to me. So started off by saying my father was always very mad, right? Very angry, it seemed. Always a very angry person at me. That's what it seemed like, right? Because every time he looked at me, for some reason, it's like for some reason, this is your fault type of thing, You're the reason why this is happening to you, right? And then like some other things that were said were like he would always be putting me down, or always yelling at me, and always making me just feel like utter shit. I didn't know why. Didn't really know why either, As a child, how could you really know why if you didn't know, right? To discipline me, right, or to punish me, which is what he really thought all I deserved was just to be punished, right? Like for little things like talking in class, or I don't know, small little things that I didn't know about, and he never really taught me about, right? He would make me strip down butt ass naked and beat me relentlessly with a belt, right? He would make me bend over a chair in the dining room and then just beat me and beat me and beat me, right? And this was pretty much a daily occurrence, right? And then at a certain point, when he thought the belt wasn't enough, right, he would go to a 2x4. So then he would make me strip down butt ass naked, bend over a dining room chair, and he would beat me with a 2x4. He didn't really care how much I cried, how much I yelled and screamed, and it didn't matter. All he could do was beat the shit out of me and punish me and make me feel like shit, right? There was another time where I think I had gotten in trouble at daycare, because after school at that time I would end up going to daycare simply because I guess both of them were working, So I think I got in trouble at daycare. And he decided to make me stand facing a corner, right? And just stare at the corner all night long. And if I fell asleep, he would come over with the belt and beat me awake and make me stand there in the corner again, just looking at the corner. Right? Stuff like this. And I think there was another time where I think I didn't really follow his instruction for something. I'm unsure, but when we were in the garage, right, he got mad at me and he made me just hold my arms up, right? Basically crucified me in the garage, right? Make me just hold my arms up. I would do it here, but I ain't got the space, but make me hold my arms up and just stand there, right? And just yell at me and beat me and harass me pretty much. And there was one time in particular where he told me to read something for him, I think for homework. And I guess I didn't read it quick enough. So, as per usual at that time, he got up with the belt and just beat the shit out of me. Didn't care where he swung. Hit me all up and down my back, all up, all down my legs and everything. And he was swinging so wildly, he ended up hitting me in the private areas, right? And after what? He got done beating me with the belt, right? I basically was flung into the living room because of how much force he was using to beat me with, right? And as a child, I guess I just instinctually, grabbed my private area because he had hit me there, right? And I guess he didn't like the fact that I had grabbed my private area, right? After he just wildly beat the shit out of me, right? He decides that his best course of action at that point, because how dare me grab myself after hitting me in a tender area, right? How dare I, right? He comes up to me, yells at me, "What your dick got to do with it?" And he hit me as hard as he could in my privates, head on with the belt. Hard as he could, right? And this is just the type of shit I had to go through, right? That's like a lot of the different types of beatings and pain that I took as far as when I was with him. But the other thing that I realized that I knew was that that's all that he was ever going to do to me, was that there was a time at daycare, right? Still kind of story time, right? Time at daycare where we had all come inside after, being outside, we were all inside watching a movie in the little main area, all the little kids there waiting for their parents to pick them up and whatnot. And I was sitting next to this kid I think I had met that day or maybe a couple days before, I don't know, right? Met him and, we were just chilling, hanging out, talking, doing whatever, right? And then, for some reason, we just got the weird notion, and we were like, I bet I can suck my stomach in further than you can, right? Just some real childish type stuff, right? And then, I guess, was she the dean or the overseer of the place or whatnot, right? Comes up behind us and says, "Will those of you come to the front, please?" Like she said shit in some weird way, real weird way. I don't know, but right. So, and as a child, I could feel it, right? Like, oh, great, now we're in trouble, or I'm in trouble. I don't know what it was about. Didn't explain anything to me, right? Until my dad got there, and this is what that lady told him that we were doing, right? She told him that we had our penises out and comparing them to each other. And then by the time I'm hearing this, I'm just like I'm utterly speechless that this lady decided to tell that big of a lie, right, on me and this other kid, right? Because clearly that's not what we were doing. She saw no penis ever within that situation, right? But, as soon as she said it to my dad, the look, that look I was talking about earlier that he gave me, that like he did what type of look, it's like, shit, like I already knew I was about to get my ass handed to me when I got home. right? And okay, this is the part where it starts to pick up. Getting back to the point of, right, the only thing he could do was punish me, right? So we get back to the house, right? He tells me to go to my room, right? The last thing a kid wants to hear. Go to your room in that manner, right? Because you know that ass whooping is on its way, right? So he gets upstairs to my room, and I see that belt, and already I'm in fear mode, because that's the same belt that been beating my ass over that dining room chair for I don't know how long at this point, right? And I think he says to me, so what were you doing, right? And I don't even think I said anything, because I was just so afraid that he was about to beat my ass, right? And then I think he switches to show me what you were doing, right? So I sat on the edge of the bed, sat there for a moment, and I sucked my stomach in, and I said, that's all we were doing. And I don't really remember what he said. All I remember was the belt coming at me. But I'm pretty sure he said something like, that's a lie, or this, that, and like, why would she say that if this, and that? And what am I supposed to say to that, right? What am I supposed to say to why would she say that? I don't know. I'm a kid here. I was just chilling with my friend, and now I'm getting my ass kicked, right? And I told him, I think eventually, like, he asked me again, show me what you're doing, or tell me what you were doing, right? I told him we were just sucking our stomachs in. And I think he may have called me a liar, or said you're lying, or this, that, you know, just a whole bunch of angry shit before the belt came and he beat my shit in, right? So I showed him the truth, I told him the truth, and I still got my ass kicked for it. You know, that to me made me realize, right, it didn't really matter what it was I would say, right? And it kind of didn't even really matter what actually happened, you know? Because no matter what, I was going to get my ass handed to me. Why? Because he wanted to hand me my ass, right? He loved to just punish me, right? And then further on from these times here, right, there are other times where maybe something happened or I got in trouble and he would ask me, what did you do, or this, that, and the other, right? And I would always tell him what I did, but then he was like, you're lying, or stop lying, tell me the truth, right? And then in this case, the truth only was what he wanted to hear. What he wanted me to tell him what he wanted to hear, right? And either way it went, no matter how truthful I was, no matter how much I told him about any of this or spoke to him about it, right? It always ended with me getting my ass handed to me, right? So, you know, not only did, you know, him not believing me or listening to me about anything I was telling him that was true, right? I had just lost my voice completely with any of this, right? Because as a child, right, you know, you're not necessarily thinking so analytically or, you know, so detailed about it, much of anything, you know. All I knew was that I was just gonna get my ass kicked, and all he could do was kick my ass. All he could do was beat the shit out of me. All he could do was do these things, right? And, you know, the thing is, like, it's not like I was a bad kid or a bad child, right? It's not like I was just a mean old little thing just going around beating people up and lying and doing all this other crap, right? That's what he assumed that I was, or assumed that I was doing, right? And little did I really know was that later on in my life, right, this would impact me in many different ways, right? Because for a while, I was just angry, right? I always had this angry kind of look on my face, and I was just always just so angry. And sometimes I would think, like, what am I angry about? And I didn't even know. Because I'm just over here angry, and I'm just holding on to all this crap, and I'm just hurt, and I'm just, right? And I'm just in this mindset of pain and anger. And I guess eventually it probably would have started to build into hatred, right? And all of these different things. right? So I have figured out a way to be able to let that shit go, right? Be able to utterly and completely let that shit go. It took me a while to figure this out, but I'm glad I did, so I don't have to end up like him. So I don't have to be like him within my life, right? First and foremost, I was a child. There was nothing that I ever did as a child that deserved to be beaten down like I was, to be beaten with a 2x4, to just, be so disrespected, as a child, right? Excuse me. Not that, I'm over here worried about respect as a child, but right, I didn't even get that respect to be a child, right? All I could ever get was punished by my own father, right? But I realized none of this had anything to really do with me because I was a child. There was nothing that I could have done to ever incur a wrath such as that as a child who didn't know much, right? All he could ever tell me was how cold and hard and bad the world was. But he didn't do anything to ever help me or prepare me for this cold, hard, and terrible world that it is, right? I'm not saying he was lying by saying the world was cold and hard and terrible, but he only made it harder on me to now go and figure this shit out for myself, right? He only made it harder on me to even be myself. And I don't think that's fair at all, right? And then the other thing is, right, it's kind of hard to know what not to do, especially if no one taught you what not to do or showed you how to go about things, It's kind of hard to stay out of trouble when you don't know what the trouble is, right? As far as I thought, maybe the trouble's just me. Maybe it's just me is why I'm just getting my ass kicked. That's all I really knew, right? He never really sought to teach me anything. He never really sought to tell me about anything, really, to better myself. All he could do was punish me, right? And then, right, the fact of the matter is, right, I already, because of this, I guess I subconsciously hated myself because I thought I was the one bringing the trouble onto me. That's what I thought, right? How could I think anything else but that if no one's teaching me anything or guiding me to do anything, but I'm getting my ass handed to me left and right because I'm either just being curious or maybe talking in class or disrupting class or doing something, childlike and silly, right? Another thing that he ended up doing to me, right, which really, really messed up my self-confidence big time, besides not being believed, getting beaten with a 2x4, him not hearing my truth or the truth of the fact of the matter is, and still kicking my ass for it, right? He decided to take me to an African heritage museum somewhere down in Atlanta. Not sure what it's called, certainly not sure if it's there, and honestly I hope that shit's not there anymore. Why? Because I'm gonna tell you this, right? A lot of the things in there spoke directly towards us as black people or the African Americans, right? All to do with slavery, right? All to do with the things of, the plantations, the cotton, all of these different things that may have been true at one point. I'm not saying anything against the truth as far as what it is or what I was shown. The issue that I come into it with was the fact that I was about 6 years old, I think, 6, 7, 8, in there. It's hard to tell, really. I just got my ass handed to me a lot, and a lot of things happened when I was young. So I really don't know really when exactly it was, but either way it goes, right? The first thing I see when I walk in there is like they have a mannequin, hanging from a noose, to represent a black man, right? First thing I see. So I'm already traumatized. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to express myself. I don't even know if I want to express myself, because all I knew was I was just going to get my ass kicked and handed to me. So, stuck in that, right? I'm sitting here staring at this bleeding mannequin or corpse, if you will, right, hanging from a noose. And my father leans over to tell me something to the effect of, you see that? That's how your ass gonna end up. He walks off, goes into the rest of the museum. Meanwhile, I'm standing here just staring at this, completely traumatized, just fucked, pretty much, in the mind. Just completely traumatized by what it is I'm seeing. And I don't know how to deal with that. Right, meanwhile, this other kid who is his friend's son he brought with him to the museum, right? He walks into it and goes, huh, it's just a dead African. Walks off, goes into another part of the museum. That's right, I'm just the only one here completely fucked in the head and traumatized seeing this shit here. The only one. I'm the only one having any type of issue looking at this type of shit, right? And this is what I know, right? Earlier, not only now I'm having issues, loving my own self. I probably subconsciously hate myself at this point, right? And then now, my first introduction to anything about us as black people or melanated people, right? Only thing I see is that all we do is get slaughtered, hang, and we're slaves. That's the only thing that I'm really knowing about, right? Right, and little dumbass walks in and says, "Oh, it's just a dead African," and walks off, right? So that's what I'm sitting here dealing with, right? And interesting enough, right? Later on in life, I get hit with consciousness, right? Becoming conscious, conscious, right? Now I'm becoming more, spiritually awakened and aware of different things, right? And another thing that I realized and ended up thinking back to was the fact that after a while of all of that shit happening, later on, right, my father starts wearing dashikis and doing all this Rastafarian stuff and going off into all of this different stuff, right? But he never once ever taught me about our people, right? About our heritage and such, right? Because the best I thought was that we were just slaves and we were just burdened with all this crap and we just ain't shit, right? Let alone thinking that I'm anything and that I'm just shit, right? And I'm saying all of this to just kind of give you an idea of what I had to go through as a child or what I experienced in my young life, And as to say, right, it took me a very long time to even believe in myself, even believe that I'm worthy of anything, It took me a long while to be able to even look myself in the mirror, because I guess that's how much I just hated myself or couldn't look at myself, right? But then after a while, after I became conscious and spiritually awakened, where was I gonna go with that? I realized, our people are so much more than that. We are greater than anything I ever thought we were, right? And for me, myself, I'm greater than anything I thought I was, right? And I'm speaking directly to, anyone who's been in a similar situation. Maybe it wasn't your father, or maybe it was your mother, or maybe it was a different guardian or something, right? That just because, people do things to you like this and tell you things like this and only want to show you things like this and only want you to tell them what they want to hear, right? That's not how it is, right? that doesn't reflect upon you. Right? That's not what you should believe. Right? And the first hardest thing I had to do, you know, given all of these things that I saw, was never taught about anything, only punished, and, you know, all these other things I just spoke about, right? The hardest thing I had to do was forgive him, right? And the first is like, forgive him? Why would you forgive him? Like, why would you ever forgive someone for doing some shit like that to you? For just treating you like that and beating the shit out of you constantly and this, that, and the other, right? Well, I forgave him because I don't want to end up like that. You know, I don't want to be that type of man. I don't want to walk around holding a bunch of hatred and pain in my heart and in myself. Hey, Squeaky. Can't believe me. My puppy's walking. Anyway, right? I don't want to be like that, right? I don't want to hold any of that crap that he tried to give me in my heart or in my mind. I don't want that to be me, you know? So I forgave him, not for him. Truthfully, I don't give a fuck about him anymore, just to be honest. Absolutely being honest, right? I don't give a shit about how he feels. Because when did he give a shit about how I felt as a child who was defenseless and couldn't do shit, right? I forgave him for me, right? So that's really the first step, right? Well, first step is realizing, right? As a child, you don't deserve any of that, right? That was not about you. That was about them and their issues, right? Secondly, forgive them. Not for them. They can go fuck themselves, honestly. But forgive them for yourself. Because you don't deserve to walk around holding on to all of that grief and all of that pain. You don't deserve to have that as who you are, right? And the other thing is, right, nor do you have to sit there and try and act like, oh, I'm a man because I am a man, right? I have to sit there and prove it to them, you know, subconsciously in your mind, right? Doing all these things to kind of prove to them, who honestly probably don't even give a shit, right? You know, that's one thing I realized. I ain't got shit to prove to that nigga. Right? I ain't got shit to prove to that piece of fucking garbage who was unfortunately called my father. I ain't got shit to prove to him, right? Because, let's see. He killed my spirit, destroyed my body, and stole my heart, you know, stole my happiness. Right? That sounds like a devil to me, right? That sounds like a devil to me. So, why would I have to give a shit about anything going on in his life, since he didn't give a shit about anything happening into mine, right? And honestly, right, I think that nigga hated me. Oh, he had to. He had to do some shit like that to me, right? Now, the other thing I thought about was, maybe that's not how he felt at certain times. But at the same time, right, if he felt differently, why didn't he do differently? You know? If he really felt that he loved me and cared about me, right, why would he treat me like that, right? I'm not saying he had to be the old, most gushy father in the world. Oh, I love you this way, that way, son, this, that, right? Because I realized that he went through some pretty shit too. Some pretty terrible shit too, right? I realized he went through some pretty terrible shit too. But at the same time, why did I have to go through that, right? And furthermore, why didn't he explain anything to me, right? But don't matter, right? Don't matter. Like I said, right? You don't have to do anything to impress them or prove to them anything, right? So like I said earlier, they probably just don't even give a shit, right? Sad gold truth, but it is what it is, right? The only thing you should concern yourself with is how you feel, right? Because all of that going on within my life was only to make sure that I had a terrible and shitty and awful life in existence. That's all that was for. But I chose to not subscribe to that life or that lifestyle or act like him or be like him, right? I choose to walk my own path, find my own happiness, find my own truth, right? Be the man that I want to be, the way I want to be, right? And that's what I'm saying to all of you out there who've gone through some pretty shitty times like this, or have had similar issues, you know. Do things the way you want to. Be the being you want to be, the way you want to be, to each and every exacting detail and key. That's what you deserve. You deserve to live your life free in every manner. Free mentally, free spiritually, free physically. Of all of the garbage that someone just wants to dump on you and put into you and harass you with, right? All of this other crap, right? So, right, next thing is you must let it go, right? You must let it go, because you must realize, right, the more you sit there and think about it and just get angry or sad and pissed off at it, you realize that you're the one getting sad, right? Because they've already gone on with their life, right? Doing whatever they're doing or getting whatever they're getting, right? They've already gone on and fucked off somewhere, right? But you're the one, unfortunately, sitting there holding and stewing over it, right? And that's not for you. You don't deserve that. You don't deserve to stew over other people's garbage, right? So you gotta let it go. Allow yourself to feel better, right? Because my father had beaten me so bad and pretty much beat me senseless of each and everything, to be honest, right? That I was at the point where I didn't even care how I felt, right? I didn't even know how to describe or discern how I felt. So I just didn't even care. I was more concerned about other people and how they felt, right, over my own self, right? I was at the point where I was more content with other people being happy rather than my own self as a child, right? And that's not fair. That's not fair at all. 'Cause I deserve happiness. I deserve love. I deserve all of those wonderful things to come to me, right? But at first I had to realize it, right? And if you're going through some stuff now and you're feeling like shit's just crazy, right? First you must realize that you deserve to be your own self. You deserve to live your life the way you want to live it. No other way is acceptable besides the way that you want to live it, right? So, you know, the only person you truly have to prove anything to or do anything for specifically coming from situations like this, right, is yourself. You only have to do what's best for you. Love who you are. Be who you are. Right? And that was one of the hardest things I had ever had to go through and experience. And really up until recently did I have any of this type of stuff figured out. Right? But, you know, I decided to speak on this, decided to talk about this to, you know, hopefully give you some ideas and ways to begin to handle this so that you throw away their garbage, right? Throw their garbage away and begin to figure out who you are, right? And maybe because, right, I look like him, right? That used to bother me too. I didn't even want to look like him, but I ain't got no choice in the matter, right? He was a handsome man, but he was a jackass. He was a fucking jackass. That's all I can say. Anyone who treats their children like that, you're a jackass. You're a piece of shit. And that's as far as I'm going. I'm trying not to go too much into a whole bunch of negative shit because, you know, I'm not really a negative person, right? But also know that, right, that was their choice to do that, right? That was their choice, simply. No one else chose to do that but them, right? My father's lack of parents didn't make him beat me with a 2x4, right? My father's shitty aunt and uncle didn't make him tell me to strip butt ass naked and bend over a den chair to beat me relentlessly, right? That was his choice, right? He chose to do that. Though he didn't have to. Not even in the slightest, right? Like, I'm beginning to truly think that nigga enjoyed doing that to me. He enjoyed hearing me scream and cry and feel bad. I'm pretty sure, right? All he could do was punish me, right? And truthfully, he did all of that shit to me, told me all of that shit because that's how he felt about himself. Truthfully, right? So I didn't do shit to deserve it. And those people that may have beaten you down or treated you that way, right? You didn't do shit to deserve that. That was them, right? And it's real hard to, let that type of shit go, but it's a must, it's a necessity. Otherwise, you're gonna spend your life living like that. And I thought, right, I don't ever want to live like that or be like that in any form or facet. I don't ever want to feel like that. Ugh. Right? It's sad, right? He couldn't let that shit go from what happened to him all those years. So he squandered a whole bunch of wonderful gifts that came his way, right? Just like, when he met my mom, right? She loved him dearly. She did. She would probably do anything for that man at that time, right? What did he do? Nothing, right? This house I'm in right now, right? Sure, it's my mom's house. I'll be getting up out of here in a bit, right? But seriously though, right? She spent pretty much her whole life paying on this house, right? And he ain't offer not near a cent to help her pay it off, right? He decided upon him that, I guess, when he came to consciousness, as for why he was wearing the dashikis and all that other stuff, right? He decided that she wasn't conscious enough for him. So he goes out and gets a whole nother woman and brings her into the house that she's been paying for. The house that he lives in, right? Breaks her heart completely, right? Completely. Right? Because he's just so strewn and so angry at everything and this way and that way and all this other shit that doesn't really have anything to do with him, right? As far as the whole, consciousness part goes, right? And then, right, even still, right? Because the shit his aunt and uncle did to him didn't have nothing to do with him, but all with them, right? But he couldn't let that go, right? So he'd rather come and squander the gifts that he got, right? A wonderful woman by his side who would have probably served him through hell and much more, right? A wonderful child, hi, who he decided to beat down and treat like shit, right? Squandered all that shit, right? Because he couldn't let go of the past, right? Couldn't let go of the past bullshit that had happened to him, right? And it's so sad too, As a child, all I ever did was love my father, but he did not reciprocate clearly, right? All I did was have the highest hopes for him, yet he still turned into a bum. He still turned into a bitch ass nigga, even after, right, my mom kicked him out the house, right? I still had high hopes for him to succeed, and he didn't. Just a moocher, just a bum ass nigga, just a bitch ass bum nigga. It's sad, right? But it's like, as a child, how could you not love your father, right? How could you not love your parent? It's kind of hard with that one, right? But at a certain point, it just had to be like, it is what it is. Ain't shit I can do to change the past, but I can certainly change my future, right? So. That's about it, really. This was a little difficult to talk about, but I'm glad I did, and I did it in hopes of, helping someone else, who may be going through some stuff like this. Keep believing in yourself. Realize that none of this shit that you had to go through had anything to do with you, but of the ones who did it to you. Forgive them. Not for them. Fuck them. For you. Forgive them for you. All the way into your heart. Forgive them completely. Energetically, you feel yourself going into another space when you can truly forgive them. You must. You must forgive them. Because you don't deserve to hold that shit within you. And honestly, just call it how you see it at a certain point, right? Because no matter how much love I gave, right, he still kicked my ass. He still thought I was a liar. And for what? No matter how much I loved him, right, even as a child, because like I said earlier, how could you not love your parents, right? But it ain't matter, right? You just gotta call it like you see it. He was a bum ass, bitch ass nigga. Because why? He chose to stay that way. That's the other part that's very important with all this, right? Because it's true, like I said, he had a fucked up past. Very true. But he chose to hold on to that shit. He chose not to change from that. Therefore, he ain't nothing but a bum ass bitch nigga, right? But now I gotta live with it, right? And the other thing, right? My mom loved this man so much, right, that I pretty much look like this man. And his ass made my mama crazy, right? He did that to her. So then now by default, right, I was wondering why I was having so many issues and, why sometimes mama be acting a certain way, right? But I realized, right, I look just like that nigga. Why? Because she loved him dearly. So now I have to sit here and deal with crazy mama problems sometimes, right? I can almost kind of tell when that's her or when that's the crazy side coming out, right? And at this point, the best thing I can do is just do my best to keep my balance and move forward, right? It's taken me a while to even get to this point, and I choose to be proud of myself for getting to this point. I choose to be proud of me for being able to vocalize this, being able to express myself about these things, to choose to move forward, choosing to let his own garbage go, right? And that part too, right? If you've been dealing with this type of shit, right, be proud of yourself for being able to let it go. Be proud of yourself for being able to move forward, right? I know that's hard because I felt like I ain't have nothing to be proud about, right? I barely loved myself. I barely cared about myself. It was shit, right? And all you can do is move forward, right? You must hold on to those greater things. Being able to love yourself, being able to be proud of yourself, right? Because a lot of people can't even do that, right? A lot of people have hard times to do that, or it's hard for them to be able to do that. So, I really hope this helps. Really hope, you take away a couple different things from this vlog to be able to put into your own life, to be able to be confident in yourself, to realize that you are worthy. You are not what they said you are. You don't have to take that. You don't have to believe the garbage coming out of their faces. So, with that being said, that's pretty much it. My victorious army. Hope y'all have a great day. Once again, like I said, I hope this helps. Hope this helps someone, and hope this helps you be able to move forward. As always, lead yourself to your greatest victory. And peace.